What if the life you are desperately trying to control is being shaped by the very things you fear? Think about that for a moment. You fear losing money, so you spend your days thinking about money. You fear rejection, so you become obsessed with whether people approve of you. You fear failure, so you constantly rehearse everything that could go wrong. You fear aging, and suddenly every birthday feels like evidence that something is being taken from you. And without realizing it, the thing you are trying hardest to escape becomes the thing receiving most of your attention. There is a strange law hidden inside human consciousness. What commands your attention begins to command your life. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this principle long before the language of modern psychology made it fashionable. She called life a game. But she did not mean a game without consequences. She meant a game governed by laws, and most people are playing without knowing the rules. If you believe you control everything, you can blame yourself for everything. If you believe every thought magically creates reality, you can become terrified of thinking the wrong thought. And if you use spirituality to avoid reality, you may become more trapped, not less. So tonight, we are going deeper, not into shallow positive thinking, but to Florence Scovel Shinn's strange proposition that life becomes different when you learn how to play it. You will encounter ideas about prosperity, intuition, forgiveness, expectation, non-resistance, and the mysterious power of words, because this book does not ask you to abandon reason. It will ask you to practice faith without pretending uncertainty does not exist. It will ask you to speak deliberately without believing words magically erase consequences. And it will ask you to pursue prosperity without making possessions responsible for your happiness. Because the deepest secret of life may be this: you cannot control every event, but you can become more conscious of the self you bring into each moment. Chapter 1: Florence Shinn and the Fear of Losing What You Haven't Even Lost. There is an old story of a ruler who possessed almost everything a human being could desire. Yet every night before sleeping, he placed a sword beside his bed, not because an enemy had entered the palace, because he feared that one might. He listened for footsteps in the corridor. He imagined betrayal among his advisors. He worried that another ruler might invade. The more he possessed, the more possibilities he had to lose. And so the strange tragedy of abundance revealed itself. The king owned many things, but fear owned the king. This is the paradox Florence Scovel Shinn repeatedly approached through the language of faith, expectation, and thought. The mind can become so occupied with what might disappear that it forgets to live with what is actually present. Consider how quietly this happens. A parent looks at healthy children and imagines the day they may leave. A person with savings fears the day the money may vanish. Someone who has built a respected career worries about becoming irrelevant. A husband or wife watches a peaceful marriage and suddenly wonders, what if this ends? And the mind calls this preparation. Sometimes it is. There is wisdom in saving money, maintaining health, protecting relationships, and preparing for genuine possibilities. But preparation becomes psychological suffering when the imagined future begins stealing the present. The ancient Stoics understood this distinction. They did not teach people to pretend that loss was impossible. They taught them to remember that everything external is vulnerable to change. The lesson was not, expect disaster. It was closer to, do not surrender today's peace to tomorrow's uncertainty. This distinction matters deeply as we grow older. Aging can make the mind particularly sensitive to loss. We notice the body changing. Friends disappear from our lives. Children become independent. Careers end. Familiar routines change. The world itself seems to move faster than it once did. And suddenly, a person may begin living in anticipation of absence. They are sitting with their family, but thinking about the day the family may scatter. They are financially secure, but mentally rehearsing bankruptcy. They are loved, but imagining abandonment. They are alive, but psychologically visiting the cemetery of possibilities. This is where fear becomes strange. The more desperately we attempt to prevent a loss, the more attention we give to the possibility of losing it. Fear says, "Watch this carefully. You could lose it." So we watch. And because attention repeatedly returns to the threat becomes psychologically larger. Modern psychology would recognize something familiar here. Attention is selective. What we repeatedly monitor becomes more mentally available. The brain begins scanning for evidence that confirms what we already fear. A person afraid of losing a relationship may interpret an ordinary silence as rejection. Someone afraid of financial collapse may treat every unexpected expense as proof that disaster has begun. Someone afraid of aging may look into the mirror, searching for evidence of decline, rather than noticing the years of experience reflected there. Fear does not merely predict the future. Sometimes it manufactures a present experience of the future. This does not mean abandoning responsibility. Quite the opposite. Save what should be saved. Speak honestly with the people you love. Take reasonable care of your health. Prepare for genuine uncertainty. But after preparation, return to life. That is the forgotten boundary. Preparation says, "I will do what I reasonably can." Fear says, "I must mentally suffer until nothing can go wrong." Those are not the same. There is an ancient wisdom hidden between them. You can prepare without rehearsing tragedy. You can love without possessing. You can save without worshiping security. You can age without treating every passing year as an enemy. And you can acknowledge mortality without allowing mortality to poison the years that remain. So tonight, ask yourself one difficult question. What future loss have I already begun grieving? Perhaps it is money, perhaps health, perhaps a relationship, perhaps youth, perhaps relevance, perhaps something you cannot even name. Then ask a second question. Thus, there's something I can responsibly do about it today. If the answer is yes, do that thing. If the answer is no, release the mental rehearsal, because there is a cruel arithmetic to unnecessary fear. You may suffer the event once, if it ever happens, but fear can make you suffer it hundreds of times beforehand. Don't suffer twice. The ancient ruler with the sword beside his bed eventually learns the lesson every human being must learn. Possession cannot eliminate uncertainty. The answer is not to possess less necessarily. It is to be possessed less by fear. And perhaps that is where genuine faith begins, not with certainty that nothing will ever be lost, but with the quiet confidence that whatever tomorrow brings, you will meet it when it arrives, not tonight. Tonight belongs to life. Chapter 2. Ask, believe, receive. The rule most people misunderstand. What if asking is not the beginning of receiving? What if preparation is? Imagine an ancient craftsman standing outside his workshop before sunrise. He has spent years shaping wood, sharpening tools, studying measurements, and learning the patience required to make something that lasts. One morning, A wealthy merchant arrives with an extraordinary request. The craftsman could simply wish for the opportunity, but wishing would not make his hands capable. He must have the tools. He must understand the design. He must possess the discipline to begin. And when the opportunity finally appears, he must recognize it. This gives us a more grounded interpretation of the familiar sequence. Ask, believe, receive. Asking clarifies intention. Before asking life for something, you must know what you are actually asking for. Many people say they want freedom when what they really want is relief. They say they want wealth when what they really want is security. They say they want recognition when what they really want is to feel valued. A clear request begins with an honest question. What am I actually seeking? Then comes belief. Belief does not have to mean certainty that the universe will deliver a specific outcome. It can mean something psychologically powerful and practical. I am willing to act as though this possibility deserves my effort. A person who believes a new career is possible begins learning. A person who believes reconciliation is possible begins communicating differently. A person who believes financial stability can improve begins examining habits, developing skills, and making disciplined decisions. Belief changes behavior, behavior changes probability, and repeated behavior changes a life. Then comes receiving. Receiving is often misunderstood as something that simply happens to us. But opportunities frequently arrive disguised as responsibility. A conversation, a recommendation, a new skill, a difficult decision, a door that requires courage to walk through. You may ask for opportunity and then fail to recognize it because it does not resemble the picture in your imagination. That is why preparation becomes the missing fourth element. Ask, believe, prepare, receive. Preparation turns hope into capacity. Consider someone who says they want financial improvement but refuses to learn anything about their spending. Someone who wants meaningful companionship but refuses to examine the habits that damage relationships. Someone who wants a second career but refuses to develop new skills. Someone who wants a healthier life but waits for motivation before changing daily routines. The desire may be sincere, but desire alone is not preparation. The ancient world understood this through craftsmanship. A shipbuilder could pray for a successful voyage, but he still had to inspect the hull. A farmer could hope for a harvest, but he still had to prepare the soil. A philosopher could desire wisdom, but he still had to examine his own thinking. The principle remains. You cannot merely ask for the harvest. You must become capable of cultivating it. This is especially important when people reach a later chapter of life. Perhaps retirement has created unexpected freedom. Perhaps a career has ended. Perhaps the children have left home. Perhaps an old identity no longer fits. These moments can feel like endings, but they can also become invitations. Ask yourself, if the opportunity I want appeared tomorrow, would I actually be ready? If not, preparation is not a delay. Preparation is the work. Learn the skill, repair the relationship, organize the finances, strengthen the body, quiet the mind, clarify the purpose. Then when the door opens, you are not standing outside wondering whether you deserve to enter. You are ready. There is something almost mystical about this process, because preparation changes what you can perceive. The unprepared person sees inconvenience. The prepared person sees opportunity. The fearful person sees risk. The disciplined person sees a challenge. The exhausted person sees another burden. The purposeful person sees a possible beginning. The external world may be the same, but the person encountering it has changed, and that may be the deeper meaning hidden inside the ancient instruction to ask, believe, and receive. You are not merely waiting for life to give you something. You are participating in becoming someone capable of receiving it wisely. So choose one thing you genuinely want. Then ask 3 questions. What am I asking for? What would believing in this possibility change about my behavior? What must I prepare before I can receive it? Start there, because the greatest mistake is not asking for too much. It is asking for something you have never prepared yourself to carry. Become ready before opportunity arrives. Chapter 3. The Law of Divine Timing. Why the seed does not panic. We abandon good things simply because they have not matured quickly enough. The Greeks understood that nature had rhythms. A farmer can prepare the soil, choose the season, protect the crop, and water it faithfully. But he cannot command the fruit to appear tomorrow. Human life works similarly. We often confuse delay with failure. A person begins rebuilding their finances and expects immediate stability. Someone starts exercising and becomes frustrated because their body does not change within weeks. A retired person discovers a new purpose but becomes discouraged because the new chapter does not immediately resemble the old one. Someone trying to repair a relationship becomes desperate because trust takes longer to return than they expected. Patience does not mean sitting beneath a tree, waiting for fruit, while refusing to water it. Patience means continuing the appropriate action without demanding immediate evidence that the action is working. That distinction can change an entire life. Consider the older person who believes it is too late to begin again. Perhaps they say, "I should have done this 20 years ago." But the seed does not ask how old the farmer is. A person may begin learning at 60. They may repair a relationship at 70. They may discover a forgotten talent after retirement. They may become emotionally mature after decades of repeating the same pattern. The calendar measures years. It does not measure the depth of transformation possible within them. There is another psychological reason we become impatient. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. When we cannot see progress, the mind begins inventing explanations. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I made the wrong choice. Maybe everyone else is ahead. Maybe I should quit. Sometimes those thoughts are correct. Wisdom requires evaluating results honestly, but sometimes they are simply the mind demanding reassurance before the process has had enough time to unfold. Delayed gratification is not merely a test of willpower. It is the ability to remain aligned with a meaningful direction while resisting the occasional demand for immediate reward. That is how skill develops. That is how trust develops. That is how a reputation develops. That is how wisdom develops, slowly, quietly, often invisibly. The ancient seed teaches something modern technology struggles to teach us. Not everything valuable produces instant evidence, so ask yourself, what have I abandoned simply because it was taking longer than expected? Perhaps you need to continue. Perhaps you need to adjust your method. Perhaps you need to let go. The answer requires discernment, not blind persistence. But before you destroy the seed, make certain you have actually given it a season. Give your efforts enough time to reveal what they can become. Water what deserves to grow, reroom what does not, and then allow nature to participate in the work. Because there is a rhythm to development that no amount of anxiety can accelerate. Chapter 4. The Shadow Behind Manifestation. When faith becomes escape, there is a dangerous moment when faith stops giving a person courage and starts giving them an excuse. A person may visualize success for hours, but never develop the skill required to achieve it. They may wait for a sign instead of making a difficult decision. They may call every uncomfortable responsibility negative energy. They may blame circumstances, other people, or cosmic timing, while avoiding the one thing they can actually change, their own behavior. This is spiritual escapism, and it can look remarkably sophisticated. The language sounds elevated, the behavior remains unchanged. Ancient